All right, welcome everyone. Welcome. This is Imtiaz from JobReadyProgrammer.com. So we have another live stream today, and I have sort of an agenda for today's discussion. I want to go over a very important jobs report that I think everyone should pay attention to by Dice.com. Every year they launch a survey and they collect some data and launch a jobs report where they discuss some of the hot areas within tech and the salaries that different developers can expect. Let me know if you guys are able to hear me okay. If I sound fine, this is a live stream. I want to make sure we get everything correct here. So give me a thumbs up if you're able to hear me fine, okay? And after discussing the this jobs report, I'll share my screen here. I'll be able to get to your questions and help you guys out in your career and do whatever I can and answer all your questions. You can ask me anything you want, and I'll try to answer and do the best I can. So we'll just wait a couple more minutes just to let everybody roll in. I sent a message on Udemy as well. And I sent an email, I think, to my existing subscribers on JobReadyProgrammer.com. So hopefully that email was sent out. But it was sort of a short notice. So if you didn't get it, maybe, let's wait for people to collect. Okay. So before I go into this jobs report, there's a question I guess I can start answering. Some of you are asking. So Mir Ali is asking, hi Imtiaz, I'm 54 years old. I used to be in the tech field, working as a system administrator. Since the last 15 years, I'm not in IT anymore and want to go back in the IT field. What is the best path for me? So I've discussed paths numerous times on this channel and explained that learn SQL first approach, learn data first because it's mission critical. Every company's biggest asset is data. And if you get your bearings right in database development, learn the SQL language, you're ready to take a piece of a business and work in an operational role. Every business has operational duties and tasks, and so you'll be quickly able to contribute to that company as a SQL developer. What else? Just waiting for everybody to come online. Okay. So yeah, the sign behind me is actually a Bitcoin sign. I have another channel called Respect the BTC where we discuss the economy, we discuss banking and what the Federal Reserve has been doing in America and what the housing market. We discuss everything in finances and so on. I'm also learning about blockchain. This book called Mastering Blockchain is an excellent book. Once I'm done, and I'm also working on a project on the side with another company where we are working on a blockchain project. And so once I'm done with that, I'll have more time to create a course on blockchain. So for those of you that are lifetime members, you'll have access to that course on the website as well. So, all right, so this jobs report, let me just share my screen here. This is the one I'm talking about. The Dice Tech Salary Report, 2021 edition. Every year they launch one, and it's very informative, and I've been following them for a couple of years. There's other job sites that create similar types of reports like this, but I like the presentation of Dice the most. Really quick, before I get into the report, let me see if I can answer some more questions before we get started. Hello, sir. I want to get into the IT field and want to learn artificial intelligence, but I have no IT knowledge. Please guide me how to start. So if you don't have any IT knowledge, if you don't have programming experience, I wouldn't recommend to go into AI because that is a very difficult curriculum to get through if you don't have any computer programming experience or computer science background. If you have a math background, if you learn statistics, and let's say you minored in statistics even, then you can learn about logistic regression. You can learn about regression analysis and all sorts of different algorithms that are machine learning algorithms, but you won't be able to apply them programmatically speaking. You could contribute in an AI role as more of a business coordinator, okay, business analyst, so to speak. But you will be more on the business side, not on the development side. So depending on what your knowledge background is. But for artificial intelligence, if you want to be a developer in artificial intelligence, not only do you need to know a programming language or multiple programming languages, but you also need to understand statistics, mathematics, have a good math background and understand that. I have a course on Python for AI, I guess. We called it data visualization, where we teach some AI libraries. So maybe you want to take a look at that. But that won't be enough if you don't have any computer science background. You got to learn how to code first, right? All right, IMTS, I completed both your SQL certifications course and Oscar course. How and where do I register for the SQL certification? So that's on the Oracle website. You have to sign in. The Oracle exam is 1Z0-071. And if you Google that, it'll take you to that section where you can enroll for the exam. You'd have to pay. That's an Oracle thing you handle, and that Oracle will handle it. And it'll be probably a remote exam you'll be taking in your own home. All right, so somebody's listening to the live stream. Vinlol is listening to the live stream while fixing a website. Very interesting. Good luck on that. Hi there. I have a BA in video game design from an art school. I'm learning SQL and Tableau now. Will I have a shot at getting a job? I'm taking your Udemy course. Absolutely. I mean, if you're learning Tableau, Tableau is one of the hottest products to learn nowadays. There's so many jobs in Tableau that you can search online. You'll see there's plenty of jobs. I'm 30, and of course SQL. Hi teacher, I'm 33 years old. I want to become a web developer, but I have some trouble about OOP software design, object-oriented programming software design. I'm well aware about the theory, but I get frozen when analyzing the problem. So you want to go through my master object-oriented design course. And then I talk about design patterns. I talk about construction of good software objects. We talk about refactoring code. And then, of course, there's an entire Java course. It's all object-oriented. So take that, all right? And I also have an object-oriented section in Python in the Python course. So those of you that are lifetime members could see that. But anyway, before I get to the rest of these questions, I don't want to waste too much time. We have enough people online now. We've got 41 people watching us now, so I don't want to waste too much time going into specific things just yet. Let's go over this important report by Dice.com. So the Dice Tech Salary Report Edition 2021. We're going to go through this together. I'm just going to basically read it with you guys, and we'll discover some of the things and contribute to your answers or queries that you might have about the report alongside. Okay. So let's start with the first one. Okay, this is a message from Art Zeal. Okay, that's whatever. Key report takeaways. So we're going to just go step by step. Tech salaries still growing. Overall average technologists' salaries in the U.S. increased 3.6%, and this is for the year 2020. This report was launched 2021, but they collected all the data during the pandemic, during the year 2020, and figured out how the cerveza sickness affected the job market in tech, and some of the changes were permanent changes that we're going to see in the coming decade or so. So it's saying reaching the 3.6% average salaries increase between 2019 and 2020, reaching 97,859 despite the economic impact of COVID-19. So excellent. Its industry is still growing. Texas continues to compete with California. So I'm sure you guys have heard, if you're in the U.S., a lot of people are moving from expensive states where there's high taxes to states where there are low taxes and land is cheaper, housing is cheaper, and Texas happens to be one of those states. It's, first of all, a massive state, and Houston, Dallas area, a lot of people are moving there, and that is becoming a serious player in the tech space. A lot of companies are moving in, Amazon, Tesla, Oracle, so there's great potential there. Texas continues its journey toward becoming a premier tech state, potentially on the scale of California. Both states' tech hubs saw high salaries and steady increases. Later in the report, you'll see how much the salaries have gone up in Texas and in some other states. Better compensation or lowered expectations. Okay, 55% of technologists said they're satisfied with their current salaries. So I don't think you could say that about a lot of other industries. Most industries are, people are going to complain, I'm not satisfied with what I'm making. The tech field just happens to be that field where the majority of the people are happy with what they are making. And if you're not happy with what you're making, you need to grow your career and just expand and learn more things and change companies. Because there's plenty of opportunities, plenty of jobs in tech. All right, so we can look at that later. Let's go on to the salaries. So salaries by location. We see that Austin, Texas, the average salary is $104,000. Silicon Valley is still, of course, high, $126,000, and New York is $114,000, as well as Boston is $111,000. So those are some good salaries. But these are the big cities, okay? The key takeaway here is if you live in one of these states, you should be in that city for the maximum, amount. Then these are average salaries, by the way, guys. These are a good average salary, 100,000 is respectable, right? Now it goes into a little bit more detail. Average tech salaries by Tech Hub, Silicon Valley in 2020 was $126,000. The average salary in California, Silicon Valley. Year over year change is 2.4%, so not much of a change. New York City had a huge increase, 11% year over year change, and the average salary is $114,000. Boston, $111,000. So I guess people are moving to New York City still for work. Well, during the pandemic, I don't think anyone moved to the city. People left the city, but since it was tech jobs, they were still working remote. And I'm sure plenty of companies still based out of New York, even though they're not as many people going to the office physically, but there's still jobs available, right? People just work remotely. So let's look at a big one here. So Charlotte, North Carolina, this is it's seen a huge uptick, 13% increase year over year, 99,000. All right, so these are the rest. I'll send a link in the description later for this report, so you can study it yourself. Let's continue on. Fastest growing tech salaries. Yep, fastest growing tech salaries are in Charlotte, North Carolina, and Orlando, Florida. Pretty cool. Let's continue on. Just going over the details of salaries here. I'm going to skip that part. Average tech salaries by state. So this is just that before, I think it was by big cities. Now it's just by state. New Jersey, a year over year change, 8.7%. I'm in New Jersey, by the way. And the average salary is $111,000, which is pretty respectable. So let's keep scrolling down. You can study that later. So salaries by occupation. This is an important one. There's many fields within tech. People approach tech and they're like, there's like 100 different fields within tech. What do I choose? Where do I go? And that's why on my website I delineate 2 simple paths. I like simple things. I like things to be straightforward, easy to follow, and for someone to get their foot in the door, there's really 2 ways, in my opinion. There's many other fields, of course, but you can either be towards software development or towards administration or operational, right? And the operational side of things has so many different fields within it, like DevOps. There's database administration. There's data operations, data engineering. There's cloud, Amazon, AWS. There is just so many different fields within that, and then of course there's business analysts. Those are operational, or you could be towards development. So here's a further breakdown of some of those. So IT management, CEO, CIO, yada yada yada. That's 114,000. That's the average salary. Sorry, 143,000. Systems architect, technical management role, 140,000. Cloud engineer, 136,000. Cybersecurity is huge, so we're seeing 134,000. Data architect is way up there, 133. And in my opinion, out of all 4 or 5 of these domains, the one that is the most, in my opinion, narrow in terms of the breadth of knowledge required to get in is probably a data architect, because you have to get familiar with 1 or 2 environments, like I've touted before. SQL, the database. You learn 1 or 2 databases. They all use the SQL language. You learn about data modeling. I teach a lecture on data modeling and the REA diagram as well as the SQL language. Cybersecurity engineer, you got to learn about a lot of other moving parts in a technological infrastructure. And so that could be a wider breadth of knowledge. Cloud engineer, a wide breadth of knowledge would need to be required to get into that. A systems architect is really a general title. Who knows what's under that? But there's a bunch of fields that fall into that. Program manager is more of a administration role, I guess, which 122,000. So here's another data scientist. Average salary in 2020, $119,000 per year. That's a respectable salary, with a year-over-year change of 12.8%. So far, this has the highest year-over-year change, right? It's growing. Data is key. Data is every company's biggest asset. MIS, Management Information Systems Manager, is similar to data and data engineering and database administration. So that, of course, is also around 119,000, and then data engineer. So these 3 data fields are growing respectively, with a pretty respectable salary. In my opinion, these are easier to get into compared to the other fields. There goes project manager. That's an administration role, a business side of things. A DevOps engineer is also growing at a pretty rapid rate, 12%. Systems engineer, this is a very general title. Who knows what's under that? Software developer, whether you develop Java programs, Python programs, or JavaScript applications, anything falls under that. And by the way, guys, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel. Your liking this video really helps the YouTube algorithm and promote the channel. Okay. Cybersecurity analyst. Okay. Database administrator. Now, database administrator, this is interesting. Database administrator roles are, in my opinion, getting kind of old. It's been around forever, but there are a lot of tools that are in place, a lot of automated systems, companies that you can hire to manage backups, and of course, like back in the day when a database administrator was responsible for backups, storing disks and stuff, and putting them in shelves and so on, and cold storage of data and all that. Now a lot of that is outsourced to companies and cloud. So that's why we're seeing sort of a decline in database administrator, because there's a lot of companies that manage that for you. And the databases themselves are far more robust. They have inbuilt tools to replicate the data across multiple nodes, so there's less chance of failure. Whereas back in the day, you had this one big mainframe and everybody's worried about, if this goes down, we lose the company's data. So back then, database administrators had a much more important role. They still do now, but it's just that it's been outsourced to many other industries, or many other, I shouldn't say industries, many other technical professions, or services, so to speak. Business analyst, that's also a data role pretty much. UX, UI designer. Now, this is not growing very much either, because the UI changes all the time. There's always new libraries in JavaScript and CSS and new templating libraries and so on. And so UX changes so often in UI. So I don't really teach that too much either. And I think that's really setting yourself up to, you're kind of trapping yourself if all you do is UI, because there's so many automated solutions in that. So network engineer, okay, mainframe programmer, yeah, that's going down by 11%. I mean, who uses mainframe now anyway? QA engineer, because of test-driven development, TDD, they call it test-driven development, where you write the test cases first and then you write software to pass those test cases, or first purposely create code that make sure that those test cases fail, and then you try to pass them by iterating and changing the code and improving the robustness of the code. So test-driven development is the new and better way of developing software. Back in the day, you would have, when I first started, they were still test cases back then, but it wasn't as big of a thing. Now, before you even write the application or before you even write a single line of code, you should first write a test case and try to fail it. And so with test-driven development, the QA engineering jobs, are going, especially manual testing. If you're a manual tester, you need to be getting towards automation. Learn Selenium in Python and Ruby and Java, whatever. But learn Selenium, the library for automating those testing procedures. Okay. Web developer. Look at that. I mean, web developers don't really make as much, do they? 81,000. That's why I don't teach it. These are average salaries, by the way. So I'm not a fan of, honestly, too much web development. They just don't make as much, and their growth is not even that much, 4.9%. So data analyst, there's, of course, data scientist, there's data engineering, there's business analyst, there's MIS. So there's so many roles within data, but we're seeing a data analyst down here being replicated again, and job titles really don't mean anything, but you can see that they weren't able to figure out year-over-year change in data analyst because so many things fall within data. Okay, so I would say that this is sort of an outlier. When you start off as a data analyst, you could probably make $60,000. So for you to be only 76,000 after 2 or 3 years is very rare. You should be around 100,000. So these up there, data engineer, MIS manager, data scientist, these are more aligned with the kind of salaries that you should be making. Technical support engineer, help desk technician. Okay, so let's continue on. So of course, fastest growing salaries by occupation here. Cybersecurity analysts, of course, there's because of all the crazy hacks and so on, and there's going to be more of them. It's really a national security job as well. You can work for the government and make quite a bit of money working as a cybersecurity analyst. And that field is only going to go up. And then data scientist, which is huge, right? DevOps engineer and so on. That's another field which are pretty hot. So technical support engineer, business analyst, a distinguished skills, system development, business, okay, intelligence, projected 10-year growth, 9.1%. Time to hire is 46 days. Cybersecurity analyst, time to hire is 46 days. So is technical support engineer. Now, technical support engineer, what is that? That's just the job title. Who knows what that is? So many jobs can fall under that domain. But cyber security analyst and business analyst, these are specific job titles, okay? And as a business analyst, you'll be required to create user documents and just talk to the business side of things and create requirements for developers to build an application. And you might also need to understand the business's data, so you'll be dealing with the database as well. So the business analyst is that. Cybersecurity is, of course, security. Now here are some hot ones. DevOps engineer, projected 10-year growth, 30%. Software developer, this is Ruby, React, JavaScript, Java, object notation, software architecture, and so on. 30% in the next 10 years. And this is, very conservative in my opinion. It's probably a lot more than that. Cloud engineer, 9.3%. Okay, so let's keep going. Data scientist is going to grow by 19% within the next 10 years. So here it is: Pandas, Keras, NumPy. All right, these are libraries that I teach in the course, Python for data analytics and visualization. I have a course on that on my website, where first you learn Python and then you take that course where we talk about NumPy and Pandas. Let me show you if I can show you the curriculum here. Let me log in. Oops. This is going to grow. I'm just going by 19%. Turn that off here. I just want to show you the courses, and I want to go over the curriculum for the Python for data analytics and visualization. And we'll go through that together. So I don't know if I've covered this before, but this is the course, Python for data analytics and visualization. It's taught, well, I'm the designer of the course, but I have another instructor that worked for Rogers and Reuters. And he was a data scientist, and he created that course under my instruction. So we teach how to set up your environment in Python, and then NumPy, Pandas, right? That's what this is teaching. It's talking about Pandas, which is a huge library, very, very important to deal with data frames and so on, and NumPy, vector math and so on. We teach that as well, right? There's a couple of hours of NumPy and Pandas, and with exercises and so on. But then we also go to Matplotlib, okay, and Seaborn, Plotly. These are visualization libraries. These are the most popular tools for a data scientist, data engineer, or data developer role. We teach that in that course. Elastic MapReduce, Elasticsearch is not here, but Elasticsearch is a very popular technology. I think it talks about that. Salaries by skill. So here are some of the technologies that are really highly paid. RabbitMQ, I think it's the messaging software used for messaging. I haven't actually used it, so I don't know. But MapReduce, of course, Hadoop, Elasticsearch. This is very popular. And then Elasticsearch is down here, actually. Average salary for an Elasticsearch engineer, if you just take the Elasticsearch course that I have, you could be making about $129,000 per year. Hadoop, of course. I have a course on Apache. I don't think it's a course on Apache Kafka. It's actually a Spark course where I teach. We talk about the Hadoop file system. We also talk about Apache Kafka in there as well. And that's a Spark for Java course. And then containers, DynamoDB, I don't teach that. Machine learning, we talk about machine learning in that Apache for Spark course. ETL, this is huge. That's basically SQL or other software that helps extract, transform, and loading the data, like Informatica and so on. Those are also growing. Anything related to data, of course, is just blowing up, right? And it's gonna continue to blow up. But yeah, these are some of the top cool technologies that you should add to your resume: Apache Kafka, Spark, and Elasticsearch. Those should be on your resume. Machine learning, MapReduce. Okay, so these are just some. We're gonna continue going down here. So highest average salaries by programming skill. Java, of course, is up there. Where's Java? Right here, 114,000. Python, 112,000. Let's keep going. Excuse me. All right. So this is interesting. Technical certifications, people ask me all the time, do I need a certification in this? Do I need a certification in that? And it's important if you're just getting started to have something on your resume that makes you stand out. And for that, certifications do kind of help. But this statistic sheds a very important light on the need for certifications. Do you have any technical certifications? And 55% of programmers said no, right? Because they are not needed in my role. And the reason is, when I interview a candidate, by asking him 3 or 4 questions, I will know whether I should even ask him the remaining questions. Whether he has a certificate or not is not important to me. Can he solve the problem that I gave him? And if he's qualified, if he's worked hard, then chances are he passes those first few questions, and then boom, I'm ready to ask him a plethora of questions that will far exceed what the certification exam will ask. And so, not that they will far exceed the technical requirements for passing the certification, but I will also ask about his perspective or how he understands the given technology. I'm interested in what he has to say, not some certification. And many employers care more about the candidate, what he has learned, rather than a list of certificates or what college he graduated from. Those are not as important, believe it or not, especially not in tech, especially in the coming, where we're all headed. Let's continue on. So do you have any of these certifications? So in general, IT, CompTIA, A+, 21% have them, because believe it or not, this is one of the easiest certifications to get, A+. And honestly, this is just the ability for someone to know whether they know how to use a computer, all right? A software developer is going to know a lot more than an A+, or hopefully they invested time in learning how the operating system works, how memory works in a computer, what's the role of a hard drive, how does networks work, and stuff like that. That's an A+ certification by CompTIA. So this is the highest level. This is the highest number of people have this certification because it's just the easiest to get in. And Microsoft Certified Professional is also pretty. That's a challenging one, but it's similar. CompTIA Security, okay, Agile and Scrum. This is again an administration related role. If you're going to get into project management, project coordination, you would need it's good to have that on your resume. But the rest really, they're really technical, like AWS Certified Solutions Architect. Many people that have this job don't necessarily have this certification. Certified Information Security Manager, many people that work in security don't have security certifications, right? So let's keep going on. Salaries by experience. So this is interesting. This is average salaries by experience. Less than a year. So your starting salary, if you're just getting started in this industry, obviously there are many areas within this industry that you can get into, but your average starting salary should be about 50, 55, 57, depending on where you are in the country. Maybe even 60, 65. And then one or two years, you should be touching 60 at least in 1 year. But after 2 years, this is what I recommend. People should leave their company after 2 years. I have a YouTube video where I talk about, where's that? There's a video that I'd like you guys to watch. Let me see if I can find it here. But anyway, when you go to my channel, it's going to show up here. And where I say, if you've been in software development for 2 years, you should leave. And I go over 100 different reasons why it's so important for you to leave that company and stretch your wings a little bit and switch jobs after 2 years. So right here, first 2 years at a company, time to move out. This is important. Bigger, and you have a chance of getting a much higher. We talk about how to improve your salary in record time, and I explain a bunch of different reasons. So make sure to check this video out if you're curious as to why you should get the hell out of that company after 2 years. Very important, okay? These salaries that they're quoting are people, if you've been working for the same company for 10 years, yeah, then you'll get to 100K. But that's whack. You want to be making 100K after 2 years. You work hard for the first 2 years in whatever company you're in, work after hours, right? Go to a different project, contribute to other people's work, help them learn, grow your skills within those 2 years. You'll still be young, or if you're old, depending on wherever you are, but you're young relatively within your career. So those 2 years matter the most. Work really hard, learn as much as you can. So after those 2 years, you can leave that company, stretch your wings, try a different company, and ask for more. And you should be able to get six-figure. All right. So let's continue on. Salary sentiment. So yeah, I mean, Net satisfied 49%. Net dissatisfied 36%. So most people are satisfied. So do you think you're underpaid? 46% said yes, but the rest are no and unsure. Okay, so no or unsure is fine. These people, these 46%, part of them are probably just stuck in the same company for too long and they're afraid to leave. And so you got to leave after 2 years, guys. Very important. Another thing is when you join a company, I've said this in the video, and you should, when you join a company and you work there for 2 years, the reason why it's so important for you to leave is because that newbie feeling is very hard to shake off. Not for you, you could probably shake it off, but for the other people that are within that company, they're going to see you as the new kid on the block. And if you enter that company in a lower role, in a lower salary bracket, you might not have that responsibility. And so they're always going to see you as the new kid or the new developer that joined. And whereas in a new company, you might be able to manage those guys, right? You might have a role that's higher than what they're getting paid, and you might even be their manager. So that's why in 2 years, you really got to move, okay? It's very hard to shake off that newbie feeling if you don't get out of there when you deserve to. Very important. And whether you deserve to or not, that's up to you. That depends on how hard you work. Main reason for a salary increase, merit raise. I disagree with this. I think main reason for salary increase, or maybe they're basing this on people that stayed in the same company for 5-6 years. I think that's a more normalized way of collecting the data. So yeah, if we were to say that they sticked around at the same company for 10 years, then yeah, the only way you're going to get a raise is if it's merit based, if you actually deserve that. But that's really a slow way of making more money. You gotta move. Main reasons for salary decrease, changed employers. So this could just be that, for salary to go down in software development is you're already at a high post and you got let go and you have to switch jobs. That makes sense. You changed employment and your salary dropped because you were already getting paid really high and something happened within that company. And typically it's very rare for someone to drop the amount of money that they're making by switching jobs. But when that happens, it's probably because they had to downsize. They can't get the same job that they once had, and they had to take a salary cut. Maybe because they were, the management role was affected. The company was downsizing. So that happens all the time. So there's really no reason for a salary decrease, but when there is a salary decrease, data shows that it's usually because the person was let go or they changed companies, right? Because they couldn't stay in that same company. Salary negotiation, most recent new job at a new company. Yeah, so did you negotiate your compensation? 48% said yes. 48% said no. This is the killer. You got to negotiate your salaries, right? And chances are when you're looking for a job, apply to 5-6 different companies, go to the interviews of all of them, and get offers from all those resources, all those companies, right? And then so that you can compete and say, oh, I got an offer from company ABC, and I'm applying to you here, and even though you're offering me this, but could you match that? And you have some ability to bargain. You don't want to do that in your existing company. If you're working in a company right now and you want to negotiate a salary increase, you don't want to tell them that you found a better job elsewhere. Your approach should be, I love working here, and I want to grow in my career. I want more responsibility. So please give me that responsibility, and I also want to make more. Ask them that straightforward. Tell them I want more responsibility and I want to make more if you're in the same company. But if you're switching companies, you want to make sure you have offers from multiple different companies that you may have applied for so that you can bargain at that point. Because at that point, you're just starting a new job. So it's to the best of your interest to negotiate as high as you can, because when you get in that role, it's going to be harder to negotiate your way up, okay? Most promotions happen based on, just jumping companies after 2 to 3 years of hard work in a given company. You learn more, and and then you get to a point where you're topped out on your salary range, and at that point you have to make a decision: how do I get to the next level within this company? Talk to management, accept more responsibility, and maybe get a management role or a technical lead role or whatever, depending on what you want to do. So benefits, here is the benefits. Obviously, health insurance is the most important. Paid vacation is the next most important. All right, and this makes sense. These two are the biggest priorities. Yeah, so health insurance is far more important than 401k matching. That makes sense. And then, of course, second is vacation. Let's see if there's anything else. Okay. So here's a skills appendix. But anyway, I'm gonna leave this. I'm gonna leave a link here for this video in the chat for you to check out. You can access it yourself. But let's start going over some of the questions that you guys may have. Hopefully about this report, as well as whatever questions you guys have. I'll try to answer as many as I can in the time that's remaining here. All right, so what's the requirement for an engineer manager, and how can I prep for it? I have a QA program manager experience with people management, okay, and a bit of automation. There's a question by Rajiv. So engineering manager, that's a very open-ended title. I don't know exactly which domain you're talking about, but I guess QA, I have a QA program manager experience. So how can I prep for it? When you say prep for it, do you mean like study for the interview, or when you're ready for an interview, when you're ready to get into a management position? The most important prep is your own confidence within yourself. That's really important, because for most people to jump ship from a developer role or from a to get to a management position when you've never managed somebody before, it requires a confidence boost, and you need to be ready for that. And you need to, frankly, be more knowledgeable in that field than everybody else. Okay. That will be working for you. Otherwise, you're going to have a hell of a time managing them, let me tell you. All right, let's see what else. Either I have a BA video games. Okay, I've already answered that. Okay. Let's see what else you guys are asking. After completing your SQL course, confirm next steps. Learn Tableau, exam, Excel, Python. Lastly, should I be doing projects to keep knowledge learned fresh? Yes, of course. You always got to be coding and practicing and learning. So the path that I explained on my website, that's the path you want to use. Right? Let me switch screens here. So the data analyst path requires you to take these two courses: the complete Oracle SQL certification course and the Master SQL Data course, data science, and then complete this Python certification course as well, because you need to know some level of programming if you want to get into a data engineer role. If you just want to be a database developer, these two will be it. Okay, these two courses. But to spread your wings and to apply to a higher number of jobs, you should also complete this. Up and running with Tableau, you could take this course as well as these two courses, the SQL courses, and get plenty of job opportunities. But I put this in the middle there because I'd like people to also learn some programming, okay, alongside after studying SQL. Make sure you're completing those assignments, by the way. I've got a lot of assignments in these courses, and you need to be completing them. Very important. I'm currently learning Java, and I want to go with Spring for web dev and back-end development. How do you analyze complex problems? So George is asking that, and I have a Master Spring Framework 5 with Boot 2. Not much has changed in the new version, by the way, but this is an important course. we build a project management tool from scratch, similar to like Monday.com, where you'll have a website with charts and stuff too, where you have the ability to administer users, all sorts of things, project management deadlines and all that. It's a project management tool that we developed from scratch in this course, and we talk about the data design, UI design, front end, back end, server side design, deployment design. How do you deploy this application to a cloud server? How do you containerize it? We talk about all that in that spring course. So George, check that out. You'll learn plenty about analyzing complex problems there. So Beza is asking, hi MTS, how does your job placement work? In your website, it says it helps with job placement. I am on the data analyst track. So Beza, good question. So if you scroll down here, the lifetime access is the only one that allows for job placement support as well. So only members that have lifetime access are eligible for job placement support. And before, I used to require students to complete both of these paths before I would market their resume to a network of recruiters. Now, by the way, down here, it explains how does the job placement feature work. And I talk about the network of recruiters. You must pass both of those exams that I provide with a 75% score of better. Okay, so it's not enough to just complete my courses. You have to pass these 2 exams. Once you pass those exams, only then will I be able to market your resume to my list of recruiters. Without that, I'm just not going to send your profile because you haven't completed the curriculum, and I want to make sure we have a good relationship with those recruiters. But basically, your resume gets blasted to those recruiters once you complete the curriculum. Okay. So whether you choose the data analyst track or the Java track, you have to be a lifetime member first for me to consider you someone that I can market. It's just how the system works. So hi MTS, I live the way you teach. Okay, thank you. I think you meant I like the way you teach. I have been doing software test engineering and I want to get to development, but somehow I get stuck with the mini projects that you've in your course. Please help. So getting stuck in software development and learning software development is the learning process. You got to get stuck. If you're not getting stuck, then that means you're not learning. People, like I remember when I first started learning SQL, there was a query that I just couldn't wrap my head around. It was like only 3 or 4 lines of code. And it was a SQL query, and I just couldn't understand it. I struggled with it for almost like 2 to 3 weeks. Every single day, multiple hours, it's just not clicking, all right? And then finally one day the light bulb went off, and then I never forgot it again. And so that's the struggle. That's the whole process. You got to get stuck. You can't learn anything without getting stuck. If you think it's just going to be a cruise, that's not how it works. To get good at anything, you got to get stuck. And that's what these assignments are for. If you're having trouble tripping up with these assignments, good. They were intended to cause you trouble, okay? IMTs, I have been QA for the past couple of years, and now I want to switch to Informatica. Please share your thoughts on Informatica. So Informatica is a data pipeline, data migration, a extract, transform, load tool, a UI tool, but it also has custom fields that you can put formulas in. Very, very important for you to learn SQL for that tool. So learn SQL. End of discussion. Learn that first. And it'll be much, much easier for you to get into an Informatica role. You just learn Informatica afterwards, right? The hard part is learning SQL. I've got 2 courses on that, so you want to complete those first. How important is getting a Java certification? So I think I answered that question about certifications in the DICE survey that we looked at. 55% of programmers don't really have a certification. You don't even need one. But it helps if you're just getting started. It's just something to add to your resume, right? That might make you stand out in the eyes of a recruiter. But a hiring manager is going to ask you questions, and they'll be able to judge whether you actually know your stuff or not. What matters is whether you've done the training, you've learned everything that you need to learn, not some certification. Certifications just help to sprinkle some makeup on your resume. That's all it is. All right. So Sher Khan is asking, how do you stay fit, especially in COVID? I don't think I'm fit by any means. I used to be a lot more fit back in the day. But I try to just do daily walks and work out, lift weights. That's a passion of mine. So let's continue on. From India, what is the average salary of a Java programmer in India? I do not know, Jaya, what the average salary of a Java programmer in India is. I haven't looked it up, but it should be very easy. Just go to the Indian job sites and check, just Google what a Java developer is making and look at 10 different job postings and you'll see what they're offering. How much is the experience required for these roles you've mentioned? So Yash is saying how much experience is required. All job postings, beginner job postings, this kills me, but it's true. All beginner job postings, you're going to say 2 years. Okay? Entry level. You need an entry level position requires 2 years. I've got a video on that. Let's look at that video real quick. Where is it? Yeah, right here. Not enough experience for a tech job, 2 years experience for entry level. Look at my face there. Notice the face that I have to make to catch people's attention here. That's the crazy world we live in with clickbait. Even though I'm sharing legit content, I have to make thumbnails that are intriguing and capture people because everyone has a 4-second attention span nowadays. But anyway, this is a funny thumbnail that I created. But anyway, I talk about why it says 2 years of experience and what are some of the hacks. What are some of the hacks that you can do to show that you have more experience than you actually do? Legally speaking, I show you how to do that. Make sure to check that video out. It's on my channel. But you know, they're gonna say they need 2 years of experience. It's BS. You can just create a profile on Upwork.com or on a freelance.org.com. Just become a freelancer and do some projects on your own and say that, you know, if you've been coding for 2 years, whether you're working for someone or not is besides the point. If you've been coding every day for 2 years, you have 2 years of experience. So don't undersell yourself. All right. All right, so do you recommend learning Excel or SQL first for the data analyst path? And how long should you spend studying for each? Excel is a very easy to learn software by Microsoft. You can just Google or YouTube Excel videos and you should be able to learn that within like a couple of days, really. It's not hard. But invest most of your time in the things that are difficult, more challenging to learn. So SQL, learn that first. Excel, you can always catch up and learn on the side, all right? So how long does it take to learn SQL? My curriculum says about 3 to 4 months of hard work every single day. You should be spending 2 hours a day. And if you haven't done that, I'm not going to be able to promote your resume to my network of recruiters. I'm just not. Because you won't be able to pass that test. That test is pretty challenging. And it's challenging for a reason, because I want people to get jobs when they deserve to get jobs. You got to really put in the work. And I recommend studying 2 to 3 hours a day every single day for 3 to 4 months of SQL to be comfortable. Pop Life, that was a question by you, Pop Life. So learn SQL first, then learn Excel. So Shahid Server is asking, please tell us, how do you stay motivated and keep your self-esteem high? This is an important question, actually, even though it's kind of unrelated. How do you stay motivated and keep your self-esteem high? Motivational videos is going to sound very cheesy, and to be honest, it is. But it's so important to watch motivational videos. It really is. I start my day every single day with a positive note. I take a walk in the morning to get to my office. My office is only like 15-minute walk from my house. But I spend 15 minutes to walk to my office, And before I even walk, I listen to motivational videos on YouTube. I wake up in the morning and watch a motivational video. Sometimes my phone is playing a motivational video. You could see my YouTube feed while I'm taking a shower. I'm hearing good information because bad information is everywhere. Everywhere you look around, the news. There's all types of crazy stuff happening around in the world. You gotta stay motivated, and the only way to do that is to consume better information. There's a saying where in a garden, weed grows very easily, meaning plants that are detrimental to the garden grow automatically. You don't have to water them. You don't have to feed them fertilizer or anything. But flowers or produce takes work. You have to water it. You have to plant it. You have to take care of it. You got to fertilize it. You got to make sure bugs don't consume that produce that you're creating, that you're trying to raise on your farm or whatever, on your land, on your garden. No rabbit is chewing on your carrots or something. I don't know. It takes work to manage plants, right? Good plants. It takes no work to manage bad plants in your garden. They're just going to grow. So thoughts are your plants in the garden of your mind, and so you always have to be consistently trying to consume good information so that you stay positive. Because there's so much negativity around us, you gotta watch motivational videos. Just keep positive. Very, very important. It sounds cliche. People are like, all you do is watch motivational videos all day. So what? At least you're not watching Netflix, right? Or watching sports, which is a huge waste of time. Why don't you go play sports? All right, so let's see what else some people are saying. Ram Kumar is saying, if I buy your Job Ready Programmer course, will you support the certifications for the subjects in the Job Ready Programmers? Yeah. So I have an email. You can reply to my email with questions that you may have about a course, or just ask in the comments section, and some other student might answer. But what I really recommend is because when you start working, I'm not going to be there for me to answer your questions. Half of a developer's job is Googling things. You have to be able to Google and search. No one's sitting there answering your questions for you at a job. So part of the training is you go on stackoverflow.com, stackoverflow.com, and you type your question up here. Let's say Java library not loading or something. Let's say you have a question about that. 500 other people potentially have asked the same question, and they're going through a similar scenario with some similar problem that you might be going through. And if you click on one of these, let's look at something that has a good amount of votes. This has 4 votes. You get multiple answers. Well, this one doesn't have many answers, but let's see here. Relevance. Let's go to newest. Yes, sorted by votes, right? If you sort it by votes, here's including all the jars. Let's say you're having a problem with Java libraries not loading or class path issues. Look, this particular question had 1,224 votes. This is a good question, and the chances are it has probably 100 different answers. If you scroll down, there's 25 people answered this question, right? And they all provided good content, good information. Look at all the upvotes. So if you have a question, instead of asking me, even though you can email and we'll give you a response, and that takes that could take 10 hours, that could take 24 hours, depending on how many emails that we get. This is your best friend, even in the workplace. You got to be able to quickly Google things at work, and that's 50% of your job as a developer is going to be on stackoverflow.com. Okay, so let's see here. Stage develop. Okay, let's see here. This is great. Thanks. What's your favorite? So Harship is saying Hi, Imtiaz. This is great. Thank you. Okay. What's your favorite interview question? My favorite interview questions, I don't have a specific favorite interview question, but I like to know about the stories behind the software. Like if you're telling me that you built this, my question, or let's say you worked on a project, you build an API. I'm not interested in how you built that API. I'm interested in why you had to build that API. What was the backstory behind that? Because if you get to the backstory behind an interview question, you can first tell whether or not that person was actually genuine or not. Because if he only prepared that question based on the technical knowledge, he's not going to have a backstory. So I attack the backstory when I interview a question. And then if he's able to successfully answer that backstory and give sort of a synopsis of what's going on in the project, then I get into the technical questions. But as far as technical questions, I love to ask about aggregate queries. If it's a database-driven question, databases, I ask about the different types of joins. That's important. And then I also throw a bunch of curveballs related to correlated subqueries. And if it's a Java question, it's all going to be about objects. Where do objects come from? Where do they go? What's the heap? What's the stack? What is the life cycle of an object? If it's a Spring related question, I also talk about objects and say, how do these get, what are singletons in Spring, and what is the life cycle of a Spring object, and how does that work? So those are technical questions, but I always go behind the backstory. I start with the backstory. Tell me about the project, why you had to build it. And this is an interview tip. If you are not prepared with a backstory behind an interview answer, behind an answer that you have to give, then chances are you won't be viewed as genuine. So you kind of have to have a backstory. That's a really important tip. I don't know if you caught that, but make sure you know your backstories before going into an interview. Hi, MTS. Does data scientist have a bright future than software developer? We already went over the dice.com survey. You could see that it has a great future. All right, so Krishna is saying, after passing the Oracle certification test, what should be the next step for a SQL developer? So after passing the SQL certification, you can either choose to apply on your own, or if you're a lifetime member on the website, you have to pass my exam, and I'll be able to promote your profile to a network of recruiters that I've built relationships with over the years. If you qualify, then you probably will get calls from companies, hopefully. One thing I always say is you don't get a job when you get a job when you're ready for it. It's like a law of attraction. You attract what you are. So if you're not qualified, you might not even get the call because your resume is going to look like garbage because you haven't put in the enough time or practice in forming a good resume or learning the skills. Let's say you do get an interview, you're not going to get the job if you're not qualified. So it really comes down to the hard work that you're willing to do and work. Some companies start requesting employees back to the office now. So what is the future of work from home? I think technology is, I created a video on this on my YouTube channel as well. Where is it? Burnout in tech, I think I talk about that in there as well. Yeah, never going back to work will you be working from home forever? So I talk about that in this video. And the gist of it is we are advancing as a technology-driven world. And so what's normal today might not be normal 10 years from now. Whether this sickness comes and goes, we don't know what's going to happen regarding this, but hopefully we're well past it in the next couple of years. But overall, the technological trend is we are being separated by technology. When you sit on a dinner table, your family's there, you have a device with you, right? And I see this trend happening where the kid is there, the mother and the father is there, and they all have a device, and they're watching YouTube videos or texting or whatever. People are not there. so we are definitely becoming separated because of technology, and technology is going to drive us further and further apart because we are lazy by nature, and we just, I guess, are afraid to face each other because of the many differences and so on. And technology spares no one, so pretty soon we're going to have better and better tools to monitor work from home status and so on. And it's just going to be like working from the office, even though you're sitting home. So even though people are being called back to work, I think eventually that's the end game, is people are going to be working from home eventually. By the way, guys, please make sure to like this video. I got 2 downvotes, down likes. Hopefully I didn't offend anyone, but please do like the video. If I'm not, okay, which career path I can follow if I'm learning Java, okay. Yeah, so I've already answered your question, George. So blazing up, you give some great ideas, thank you. Do you do job placement? So Bez, I talked about that in my, on my, just a few moments ago. How does job placement feature work? So read through that, and you'll understand how that works. Going back to a company you have worked for before, good idea. So Suma is asking, going back to a company that you have worked for before, good idea? It could be a good idea, depending on what your relationship was with that company. So could you let me know? Maybe write in the comments later on, I'll see. It all depends on your previous relationship. How much money make a penetration tester as freelancer? So Zach, you're asking how much money does a penetration tester make as a freelancer? I'm not too sure about penetration testing. You can probably Google that. That's not something I teach. I try to stay away from tester roles because, you know, software, auxiliary tools, the industry is evolving to a more automation-based basis. And so, you know, that's more of security. So you're probably going to have plenty of security penetration testing jobs out there. But I would say, you know, it all depends on the industry. But if you're just starting off, 60K is definitely, you should be able to make 60K no matter where you are in IT. Going back to previous employer for more pay and better title, is it a good idea? Yeah, if you're getting a higher salary and you're going back to the same employer, sure, that's a good idea, I think. It all depends on your the circumstances and what your relationship was with your employee. What else are people asking? Should I go for as many certs as I can or hone in on one or select a few? So Moomin, you should not be chasing certifications. You should not be chasing certificates. You should be chasing skills. SQL is a no-brainer as the first go-to technical skill that you should acquire because it opens the most number of doors for you to branch out into. Data is operational. It's every company's biggest asset. I've said that. So don't chase after certifications. Chase after skills. So Mohanand is saying, do you think a diploma in CS, computer science, I'm assuming, object-oriented programming, Java focus, will land me a job as a programmer? It could definitely help, but it's not needed. Like I said, 55% of software developers out there have no certification whatsoever. It's all about the skills. I'm talking about not they don't have college degrees. Most software developers have college degrees. There are a significant portion now that don't, but it's for the best that you do have some college level experience. You need to have some college education to be a software developer. Data scientists seem like a hype. There are not so many openings comparing to SWE, your view. So data scientist is a very broad title. There's data engineer, there's business analyst, there's data developer, data engineer, database administrator, database developer, data reports builder. Data scientist is an overused term, and it can mean a lot of things. So there's plenty of job titles that you should be searching for. Don't just search for data scientist. there's many jobs that have data in them, and they can all potentially serve the role as a data scientist. So there's plenty of openings, trust me. Well, you can Google that, Tony. So Ashok is asking Java or Python, what would you recommend? See, a Java developer can very quickly learn Python, but a Python developer would have a hard time learning Java. So what should you start with first? It all depends on, where you are, but I would recommend, learning Java first. If you've already learned C++ or something, or some other language that's object-oriented, then maybe you can learn Python without learning Java. That's fine. But Python is great for learning data structures and algorithms, but you have to really understand the object lifecycle. You have to understand how the operating system handles objects. Where are they stored? Are they on the heap? Are they on the stack? Passed by reference, passed by value. Those things are really focused in when you learn Java. So especially I prioritize them in my courses. So learn Java first and then learn Python. But it all depends on if you're on the data side, then you might not even need Java. Just focus on Python and SQL. So Blazing Up is saying, I'm always focusing on cybersecurity. Sometimes I forget how awesome CS and programming is. Yeah. Okay. Hi, sir. I'm 41 years old. I want to change my career path. I have completed one of your courses in Udemy. Please guide me for best course. So, Mohammed, I've already talked about the two paths on my website, data analyst, software developer. Just pick a path. I would suggest you start with this one. Learn these two courses. Spend 2 to 3 months just learning this stuff, these two courses, and then learn up and running with Tableau. Okay, and you should start applying for jobs after. Muhammad Asif, okay. I'm 54. Out of curiosity and learning new things, I want to do Java certification. How long will it take if I spend 3 hours a day for learning? If you spend 3 hours a day, I'd say for a full stack Java curriculum, it should take you about a year. I know coding bootcamps, say 3 months or 6 or 4 months or something like that. That's for a full stack curriculum. Come on, dude, it takes longer. Don't believe what any of those coding bootcamps say. Asim Taha, okay, so how long does it take to finish your software program? So I've got two paths, Asim. I just talked about it. There's the data analyst path, which takes about 3 to 4 months. The software developer full stack takes about a year. I'm just going to say it. All right, so Krishna is asking, can you write the query in the chat? I'm not sure what query you're talking about. Are you talking about an interview question? Can I write an interview question? Well, I'll have to think about it on the spot. So maybe if we have time, I might come up with one later. All right, so Krishna is saying, I watched your 10 minutes per day. It helped me. Thank you, okay? Don't watch me for 10 minutes. Take the full course, please. 10 minutes a day is nothing. I'm an integration developer, but practice, complete all the assignments. All right, what else? So Asim is saying, do you constantly update your courses? Only those that are needed. I've said this before, I focus on courses that are more fundamental, that don't change as much, like UI. If you're a UI developer, like user interface, you're learning Angular 1 week, and then you have to learn React.js the next week, and then you got to learn Vue.js, and those frameworks are changing all the time. People that learn Angular had to learn Angular 3 and 4 or whatever, and the whole framework changed because UI changes all the time. I don't focus on things that change a lot. I focus on courses that are fundamental, that you master these skills, and you can always have a firm foundation and be able to land jobs. That's what I focus on. That's why I don't teach UI. I do not teach UI. I don't recommend learning JavaScript only and just trying to get a JavaScript developer role, because we saw that in the Dice.com salary report, right? Let's go back. Web development was one of the lowest paying or opportunity that they had the lowest opportunity, right? Where is it? Let's scroll up here. Yeah, like web developer, he's only making $81,000 a year, right? And that's like that's good, but you finish learning React JS, and then there's this new fancy UI framework comes up next month, and what are you gonna drop what you're doing and start learning that? You could be stuck in a UI role, learning or working with old libraries for years, and then when you leave this space, you try to switch companies, and you're like, wait a minute, this whole space is different now. The UI changes all the time, so stay away from UI. So that's why I try to keep my courses grounded and things that don't change as much. When there is a must needed change, of course, I modify the course and I change it to update it. So apart from learning, Menteen Tech is asking, apart from learning Tableau and SQL as mentioned in your old videos, what other things I need to know to be a SQL/database developer? So it would help to learn some Linux. It'll, if you learn the command line, that would be helpful. And that's pretty much it. Just SQL is really the most important thing. SQL and Tableau. And that's what I prioritize. You can maybe invest 1 or 2 or maybe a week on YouTube learning about different Linux commands. And if you have a MacBook, like I have a Mac here. This is a Linux-based system. So you can just open the command line. Let me open one right now. So you can open the command line here and just practice right here. Just increase bigger. You can just practice in here all the different commands. Rep grh or whatever, but you can use various commands. ls minus ltr pipe grep, and then search for something with d, and then you can navigate into these directories and so on. So there's a bunch of commands that you want to learn. You can the simple ones are ls and ltr. Of course, you got to know about grep. You need to know how to use the find command to search for files. You got to learn about ps minus ef grep. Let's say you're searching for for Docker or something, or some application running in the background. You could do a ps minus ef. You got to learn about piping and so on. So these are Linux commands. These are things you can probably learn within a couple of days on YouTube and practice on your Mac, or you can install a Linux virtual machine on your Windows machine if that's all you have. Okay, Imtiaz, do you have any advice with behavioral interviews? Struggle a lot with them. So Kunal is saying, do you have any recommendation of behavioral interviews? I struggle a lot with them. It depends on what type of struggle you're going through. Either you have, maybe you may not be as good of a communicator, and that could be improved by reading books, by studying people. Like I listen to Jordan Peterson, and he's kind of a difficult person to understand during his debates, because he uses pretty advanced language. And so, that it might be a language barrier that you might be going through. Study people, study how they present, study how they debate. And really, it might just be a confidence issue. You might just need to learn how to be more confident. I have a video on YouTube where I talk about how to be, what's the fastest way to become confident? Best training for confidence, best training to develop confidence, fastest way. This video, in my opinion, should be the #1 video on YouTube for confidence, because I talk about, I basically say, hey, take an acting class, because it is the most direct and fastest way to gain social confidence, and it's a difficult thing to achieve. Take an acting class, take a singing class, take a class in in something that you have absolutely no confidence in, and that will improve your skill set and boost your confidence in an environment where everyone else is also like you. They're all there to learn acting, right? They're all there to learn singing, and they will all suck just as much as you will, and so you'll learn together if you're joining level 1, and that will contribute to your confidence for sure. So Momin is asking, what's your advice to a technical interview question you can't answer? So what I would recommend for if somebody asks you a technical question that you have absolutely no idea how to answer, you can say that, I don't have experience in this particular domain, as you know, but I would love to learn more about it. You want to kind of get the idea across that you don't have experience in it, rather than saying that you don't know it. Because if you just say, I don't know it, that doesn't sound good. You can say that I have experience using X, Y, and Z, but I never had the opportunity to explore this particular thing, and so that's why that's not in my experience belt. I'd like to add that to my arsenal. I can't wait to learn this. But thank you for asking this interview question, because the first thing I'm going to do when I go home is look this up and try to learn it. You want to kind of take the question in that direction and be the learner rather than the guy that says, I have no idea what you're talking about and I'm nervous and I'm shooting bullets here. So Fenene is saying, thank you. I wrote you a mail, but I got no reply. Maybe I missed your email, buddy. Please send it again. Usually I get to most emails within 24 hours. I'm not sure when you sent it. So if it's within 24 hours, you can probably expect me to reply back tomorrow. Okay, so the Complete SQL Bootcamp 2021, go from zero to hero. I took your course for SQL. What else course do I need for SQL? So I already talked about the 2 courses, the Complete Oracle SQL course and the Master SQL for Data Science. So you want to take the Master SQL for Data Science next. That's a workhorse. That is going to really force you to exercise your query muscles, because it's all about query. So Beza is asking, believe the gospel. That's the motivation. I mean, religious texts can help you stay motivated, depending on whatever religion you believe in. So Irfan is asking, is associate degree enough for data analyst jobs? So I've seen data analysts with no degrees. They just have college degrees. And if I was to hire somebody personally, I would really care about whether they know SQL, whether they have experience in SQL, what have they done in data. I would care about those things more than their degree, but degrees do help pass the recruiter, the HR recruiter, because sometimes the HR recruiters just say, oh, this resume, oh, okay, this I could just toss in the garbage because this guy has no degree. Big companies have this vetting process where they don't hire people that don't have a college degree. So it's important to have some degree, and if you have an associate degree, that might just be good enough for you to be a software developer or a data analyst, provided that you have the experience and you have the skills to back it up. So Tamid Khan is asking, how do you suggest breaking into the field with a bachelor's in an unrelated field? So that's what I'm all about. I had a bachelor's in accounting. And now I teach software development to Harvard and Princeton, and some of those students that go to MIT have taken my courses and have found success. I go over a very simple approach to learning this field. You just go to my website, jobreadyprogrammer.com. There's 2 paths. Pick one and stick with it. So Kyle is saying projects and skills over certifications. Absolutely. That's the way to do it. You want to get as much experience working on projects. Create your own projects. If you have an idea, execute on that. Try to build something. That's far more valuable than a certificate. All right, so JC is asking, what are the most important fundamentals to know in computer science when it comes to getting your first job out of college as a junior Java developer. So you need to have gone through a Java course. I've got multiple. And you got to know your data structures and algorithms, because an entry level developer, since they won't have as much experience working in the domain and as much practical experience under their belt, interviewers are interested in finding out whether this person has good logic skills, because that's all they can judge them for at that point. So you got to learn data structures and algorithms and complete all the puzzles. I keep saying this in multiple live streams. Complete the puzzles on Coding Bat. Take my course on Learn Java Through Coding Puzzles. That course is, in my opinion, a gem. I'm not just saying that because it's my course. It has some of the most awesome exercises in Java that you can practice. Those are really important. Those are going to test your logic and improve your logic. All right, so Itoro is saying, can we take your Java Path program and take your exam for Java placement in 1 month? If I'm not a newbie to Java, I don't know. I don't do that because I just have a set curriculum and you have to follow that, unfortunately. Because I wouldn't know whether, it's just 1 month that you took. You might say that you have experience. I'm not speaking about you, but any student could say, oh, I already have experience in X, Y, and Z, and I'm just going to take your curriculum for 1 month. Can you just, shoot my resume over to people, and you are also able to pass my exam because you got help from one of your colleagues or one of your friends that solved that puzzle for you. So then how would I know whether you actually were able to take my courses and learn everything that you need? So that's why that time window is there. So we can't skip that time window, unfortunately. All right, so Barnaby saying, thanks to your videos. They're fantastic. Also, the analysis on 2021 tech salary was great. Definitely treasury. Definitely reassuring to stay on your data path. Yes, thank you. So Imran is saying, what makes a great programmer? That's a really good question. I think a great programmer is someone that has the ability to understand the business domain and prioritizes what's going around, what's happening in the real world, and translate that into code first. They need to they spend a lot of time understanding what's actually happening in the real world or the business domain or the requirement, and then is able to translate that into code in the most succinct and easy to read manner. And that is not easy to do. That takes years and years of experience. Good developers take time to build, all right? Someone with 10 years of experience, just coding forms is not enough. It needs to be 10 years of experience working with a variety of different, in different domains, learning different things, constantly learning on the weekends, coding every single day. 10,000 hours of, I was about to say 10,000 years, 10,000 years, 10,000 hours of coding can make a great programmer. So if you figure, 40 hours a week, let's say if you spend at work, chances are you're not coding for 40 hours a week. There's no job in the world that exists where you get to code 40 hours a week. So you might be only coding 20 hours a week if you're lucky. So 20 times 52 weeks, that's 1,000 hours of coding in a year. So 10 years, 10,000 hours. But if you're coding on the weekends, if you're coding after hours, like I remember when I first joined my real job out of college, I would get there at 7 a.m. and I would leave at 5, and during that time I'd be working for the job. But then after 5 o'clock, I was actually coding till like 10 o'clock. So I got to the 10,000 hour mark in about, I think, 4 years. So that was cool. You have to kind of be addicted to that. And I've been coding for what? 12 years now. I'm not coding as much as I used to, by the way. But I think I'm still a pretty dangerous coder. All right, so let's see what else people are saying. I'm 25 years old from non-tech background. Can I become a machine learning expert? Yeah, of course. When somebody asks me, can I become this or can I become that? Of course you can. You just need to put in the work. All right. Subash is saying, hi, sir, say my name. Subash, I just said your name. All right. Raphael, Zamor, okay. So Raphael is saying, hi, MTS. Haven't been doing well on the coding challenge during interviews. Which course should I take on your site? So it depends on what path you chose. Are you in the data analyst path or are you in the Java software developer path? So can't get past lead code easy problem. So you're just starting out. How long have you practiced for? Like I said, 3 hours a day, every single day coding. Are you doing that? And it takes long. It takes a long time. In the SQL path, 3 to 4 months. In the software developer path, it takes a year. So I'm not sure exactly where you are, but try to answer this question later if you can. Getting a job with SQL is faster, easier than front end. Yeah, getting a job in SQL is of course faster and easier than front end. I've created videos on this subject before. Getting a job in SQL is much, much faster and easier than front end. That's what my entire program teaches. Like, you gotta first start with SQL. You're gonna have to learn that anyway as a full stack developer. Learn SQL first. Get hired first. Get your foot in the door first. Learn the fun stuff on the weekends. What I don't like about these coding boot camps is they start teaching you JavaScript day one, and you're like, yeah, but how am I going to use this in the industry? Am I going to get can I get a job in 3 months? No, you can't. You're having fun coding, drag and drops and like cool features and so on, but it's not practical experience. Coding boot camps try to fire hose you with all this knowledge in 3 months. That's not enough, right? Focus on something that you can understand, learn, and get good at in 3 to 4 months, and that's SQL. And then get your foot in the door, and then start learning on the weekends, the fun stuff. So Pawan is saying, hi MTS, any advice on how to handle stress at the job? How did you manage your stress when you are working? It depends on what kind of stress, but let me tell you, I have a video on this subject as well on my YouTube channel. And there's entry-level job, requires 2 years. This one talks about some of that. This one's secret determination, how to succeed as a software developer. I talk about this. And then code fear and the imposter syndrome. This is another video that you need to watch. These 3 videos. Well, I'd say how to succeed as a software developer, secret determination right here. This one, very important video, and code fear and the imposter syndrome. Watch both of these videos and you'll know exactly how to handle your stress. You haven't given much detail as to what kind of stress you're talking about. Excuse me, but these videos will pretty much cover everything. All right, hi MTS, thanks for sharing amazing content. Thank you, and time and energy you put in. What do you think about full stack boot camps, and do you think junior developer market is oversaturated? So Qasim is asking, what do you think of the coding boot camps, full stack software coding boot camps? They're good if you already have 3 to 4 months of self-learning. If you've been struggling or learning or coding on the side for 3 to 4 months, maybe using my curriculum, and then you want to go to a coding boot camp because you like the environment, you like other students to collaborate and so on, sure, you could do that. But someone that's just starting out, these coding boot camps, man, they fire hose you with all this information within 3 months. And that's just that's not constructive. By the time you're done after 3 months, you've been fire hosed with all this information, you won't be able to retain enough. It takes time, and self-learning is very important. You got to invest time self-learning, and then maybe go to a coding bootcamp and increase your skills if you'd like. So Imtiaz Ram is saying, hello Imtiaz, I am also Imtiaz. I'm 75% finished with the DS Algo course. How much practice should one do to be confident in interviews? So if you're 75% complete, obviously get to 100%. Make sure that you completed those assignments, because I ask people to actually code up the pseudo. I give a pseudo description of how the algorithm works, and then I expect you to code that yourself. Once you're done with the course, can you code all of those algorithms on your own or complete those assignments on your own without looking at my solutions? If you can do that, then you should be proficient for interviews. All right. Hi from Imran. Hello. What else? Please, can you recommend a beginner to advanced book to learn SQL? Also, can I pass the Oracle certification course on SQL after taking your course on Udemy? Yeah, so many students have reached out to me. This was 2 years ago when when I decided to create a course on SQL, and they wanted to get a certification course, and I was like, all right, let me do it. I created the first iteration of it, and it was not complete. It was not enough. Students were complaining that it was only 5 or 6 hours, and it wasn't meant to be a complete certification course at the time, because I provided the material and I said, hey, learn this stuff. I'll teach you this, and you can learn this on your own. But it wasn't complete. Now, after all the updates and after adding additional lectures, adding the questions that are asked on the exam, adding the lectures on answering those questions, now it's really ready to prepare anybody to pass a SQL certification. But still, I recommend people to take to buy that book for additional complementary material. It's called the Oracle SQL Certification book on Amazon. Where is it? Well, Java certification, that's a different one, but this Oracle certification prep, just type in 1Z0-071, and it's by the Oracle libraries. Yeah, this one. This is the actual exam guide by Oracle. Okay? OCA Oracle Database SQL Exam Guide 1Z0-071. I cover everything in this book, but you want to have multiple channels through which you consume content. You want to watch my videos, you want to complete those assignments that I provide in the videos, and also be able to read this book and go through this book. So add that to your learning curriculum to fully become a SQL certified expert, okay? And so just please add this to your curriculum, and then you should definitely be well prepared. And I would say it takes about 4 to 5 months to become certified in Oracle. If you practice 2 to 3 hours every single day in SQL. So Ram Yadav is saying, I wasted a lot of money in learning coding. Yeah, there's a lot of some coding. I don't know I hope you didn't go to a coding boot camp that charges $15,000. I'm not sure how much money you lost, but still didn't practice puzzles. Okay, you didn't practice puzzles, data structures, and algorithms. Should I continue with programming? Yeah, absolutely. You should continue, because I am 24 years old and fearful about my future. So, Ram, you haven't put in the practice. If you're saying you didn't practice the puzzles, you didn't practice data structures, the algorithms, then like my course, the practical data structures and algorithms. This course, along with this one, is all puzzles and assignments. Now, I'm sure you didn't complete. You're not talking about my curriculum. You probably spent money somewhere else, because mine is much cheaper than any coding bootcamp you can ever think of. Coding bootcamps are like $15,000, and I'm giving out coupons for $250 for all of my courses. But these courses have a lot of assignments. You got to be completing those assignments, dude. You're saying that um, you put a lot of money learning coding, but still didn't practice puzzles, and so you got to practice. That's the number one rule in coding. You got to put in the practice. You got to put in the hours. Struggle. Bash your head against the wall. Okay, though I'm getting work enhancement development in React, Redux, and Material UI, what do you say? So, if you're learning React, Redux, if that's your job, cool, just keep learning that. I don't know what company you work for, but. So Vugar is asking, who are you? That's an interesting question. You can Google my name, Imtiaz Ahmad. Let me just open it into a incognito browser so you can look me up. So Imtiaz Ahmad, this is my LinkedIn profile, by the way. The fourth link, but the first link is going to take you to my YouTube, and then this one, this is my profile on Udemy. So I've taught over 84,000 students. Very grateful for that. And most of my courses are 4.6, 4.5, 4.7 here. 73,000 reviews. So, you're in good hands if you choose to learn with me. And if you choose to go with my curriculum, I'll just shill it here. This website, jobreadyprogrammer.com, this is the website that I run, and I help people all around the world learn software development. So, what else here? So Eric is saying, I'm self-taught and currently looking for a data analyst position. I put my projects at top of my resume. Anything else? I'm not sure what projects are those projects that you took initiative of yourself. Like, those are your own personal projects? Why don't you put SQL developer consultant or SQL developer freelancer or something as your first job title, and create a freelance profile on freelance.org or Upwork, and just so that you can legally have a first job title there. You want to put experience on the top of your resume. I'm going to probably create another live stream going over good and bad interviews, good or bad resumes, because I just helped one of the students improve their resume. Within the second day, he started getting calls. He had been applying to he had been applying for so long and wasn't getting any calls. And then as soon as we updated his resume, he started getting calls like the second day. And that was because he put the experience all the way down. The first thing he had was education. No one cares about what college you graduated from. It's about the experience and how you can get some experience on your resume. All right, what else? Just going through this, there's a bunch of questions, so I'm just trying to catch up here. So SN Patel is asking, he asked multiple times, hi sir, any opinion on machine learning without IT background? You need to have an IT background for being to be a developer in machine learning, obviously. When I say IT background, meaning you need to learn you need to first learn to be a coder, learn a programming language, build some apps on your own, practice, and then start getting into the AI or artificial intelligence, machine learning space. Or you can stay on the business side of things, be a project coordinator in a company where you understand how the algorithms work at a high level, and you study statistics. Because it is a math-driven field. So there's two ways of getting your foot in the door in that. So by the way, guys, please like this video. Please like it. Really helps boost up the channel, helps the YouTube algorithm know that I'm providing good content. and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date. So Faraz is saying, hi Imtiaz, I'm a huge fan of your teaching. Thank you. Using your technique, I got SQL training and Tableau. I got interviews, calls for new jobs. Awesome. However, I really want to become a developer. Can you suggest? So first, dude, get your foot in the door first. Get a job first. Get your foot in the door. Once you have a job as a SQL developer or a database developer, Tableau is what I think you took my training, SQL and Tableau. Get your foot in the door first. Work hard in that company. But on the weekends, if you want to be a software developer, on the weekends, take the software developer track, which is on the right, right? That's why I say start here first and then move to software developer. So Pradham is asking, hi sir, why you didn't answer my question? I'm sorry, did I miss your question? I may have missed it while I was scrolling. Please ask again. There's somebody asking me to change my language of choice during this communication. And I just don't want to do that because then everyone won't be able to understand. So I can speak Hindi, I can speak Urdu, I can speak Punjabi, I can speak all these languages, but I'm only going to communicate in English because this video is, I want to make sure everyone understands everything I say in this video. Okay? That's a message to the Everything channel. Okay, so Pablo is saying, why did I skip your question? That's because I'm just trying to scroll down and catch up with all the questions, guys. But anyway, he's saying, what is your opinion on Google Data Certificate? That's probably a good certificate to have. Again, as the survey shows, certificates don't mean as much. What matters is your technical skills. That's all that matters. So you should be skills driven, not certificate driven. But if you want to add that to your resume, sure. So SN Patel, I've already answered that question. Engineering student, I'm really weak at data structures. Okay. So Mohammed, I've answered some of your questions in a variety of ways. So hopefully that was helpful, guys. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel to stay up to date. Any other questions? I know I may have skipped a few because there were a bunch that were, and I've lost them in the thread, but I scrolled down. QA tips. So QA tips is please don't be a manual tester. Just don't do that. Stay in automation. So I have a QA interview tomorrow. Sarosh is asking. So what kind of QA interview is this? Is this manual testing? Is this automated testing? Any tips? So one recommendation I can give you if tomorrow's your interview is before the interview, psych yourself up, watch motivational videos, pump yourself up, and get a cup of coffee so that you're ready and motivated and you're in a positive mindset. And then also ask questions. Have your questions prepared beforehand about the job. And if there's something that you can't answer, be honest with them and say that you don't have experience in that, but you would love to learn and you're a go-getter. You just don't have, you've experienced X, Y, and Z. You've experienced A, B, C, but you don't have experience in Y or D or something. You've only learned this, but you want to learn other things. You want to learn other things, okay? So if it's an automation, Sarosh, that's going to be Java probably. I don't know if you're learning Selenium, or I think they have a Python library, they have a Ruby library, they have a Java library. So they're going to ask you questions on object-oriented programming. They're going to ask you to solve puzzles. They might ask you to write an integration test, or how to write good integration tests. Even though you might not be doing integration testing, you might be a tester, but they'll ask you those types of questions as well. And why do developers create integration tests? Things like that. Thoughts on okay. Maximus is saying thoughts on transitioning from data analyst to either dev or data engineer. I think I may have asked before. So Maximus, yeah, I mean, a data analyst, data engineer, database developer, these are all overloaded terms. And some jobs, you might be a data engineer here, and you might be doing what a data analyst at another job does. You might be a data analyst here, and you might be doing what a data scientist does in another job. So Soros Java, yeah. So be ready to code. Just this right now is really not a time for you to prepare the interview. If it's tomorrow, just know the different Selenium libraries, the most popular ones, and right now just I would say Google the questions for Selenium interview right now, just so that it's at the tip of your tongue, and have a backstory for the projects that you've worked on before. Have a backstory so that you can answer with some substance and not just stay technical, but also explain from a business standpoint. All right, so is 30 too late to become a successful developer from scratch, or would you recommend more stable, easier careers? There's no such thing as a stable, easier career. 30 is very young. You're very young. So just start now. Dude, in 2 years, you can make a huge difference in this world. You can be somewhere else in 2 years. It depends on whether you like this field, if you enjoy it. Check my website out and start with the data analyst path and start cracking away. And stick to it. Don't give up. It takes work. It's hard. It's not supposed to be easy. All right, guys. About time we wrap this up. It's getting late here on my end. Please like this video. Subscribe to the channel to stay up to date, and I'll see you in another one. Let me just make sure I covered this last one. So Rukesh Lad is saying, in which technology we should transition ourselves as Java developer in the coming years? Where should you be transitioning to? In terms of an industry, blockchain. Simple answer. All right, guys, time to wrap up. I'll see you in another live stream. Thank you.